According to the Centers for Disease Control, or CDC for short, the next year obesity is going to overtake smoking tobacco as the #1 cause of preventable death in America. Make no mistake, tobacco is a big killer, but obesity has caused over 300,000 health-related deaths compared to tobacco's 400,000 deaths. I know some of you in the class today want to have a child someday, so you might want to listen in because there's an epidemic growing in today's society. This epidemic is childhood obesity. The CDC director also declared that childhood obesity is one of the government's top concerns due to its rapid increase in the past decades. The Stop Child Obesity Foundation recorded that in the past 2 decades, childhood obesity has doubled with ages 2 through 5 and more than tripled with ages 6 through 11. It also recorded in the past year more than 30% of children and adolescents are obese. It is my job to inform you about this issue for a couple reasons. For one, America's youth should be our biggest concern because they are our future. And I'm currently in the health field majoring in pre-exercise science, so personal health is not important for me, but it's important for the people around me. Today I'll talk about the main contributors into childhood obesity and the harmful effects of obesity among our youth. Let's start by exploring the main components that influence childhood obesity. Children are almost susceptible to anything because they're so young and curious. This means that they can be influenced by many things as well. You can blame it on the child for being obese, or maybe the parent. There's no right or wrong answer because there are several key components into childhood obesity. First, I would like to talk about the environmental factors that influence obesity among children. First, advertisers are focusing more on unhealthy foods. If the kids see food or drinks that they like, they usually want it subconsciously or consciously. And there's a lack of daily quality physical activity in schools according to the CDC. And schools are selling more sugar drinks and less healthy foods. This causes students to be open to more bad foods if they don't bring their lunch to school. So there also might not be a safe place for children to play or be active in their neighborhoods. And there has been an increase in portion sizes, and so the kids are eating more than they should without even knowing it. Lastly, television has played a major role in childhood obesity because kids are now becoming couch potatoes and they aren't getting enough physical activity. Environmental factors are the biggest component in childhood obesity, but now let's talk about the genetics aspect of it. Genetic factors in a child can change your body in 2 different ways, says Amir Khanekar from the International Journal of Preventive Medicine. A child can have a fast or slow metabolism just by genetics, or their parents' obesity can influence obesity in a child. There's really no way to change the genetics of a child's body, but they can be helped if they're worked with and watched over. They'll have to eat better foods with fewer calories, and they might have to do a little more physical activity to give their metabolism a bigger boost. The last component of childhood obesity is behavioral factors. Behavioral factors can include many different aspects, but here are some. A child will consume more food than necessary. They don't want to play or be physically active. Instead, they want to sit inside and play video games or play on the computer. Samira Karnik states that all these behavioral factors are a vicious circle with one leading to another. If a child is to stop this trend, then he or she could very well become obese. So far, we have seen the factors that influence childhood obesity. Now I'll change gears and talk about the harmful effects obesity has on children. When people look at obesity, they don't think of the major concerns that are associated with it. And if a child is obese, then he or she can develop either physical, psychological, or even social issues. So many of these health risks can start right away. Obese children are more likely to have high blood pressure and high cholesterol, which are risk factors for cardiovascular disease. And according to the CDC, one study showed that 70% of obese children had at least one cardiovascular disease. They can have an increased impaired glucose tolerance, insulin resistance, and type 2 diabetes. They can develop breathing problems such as sleep apnea and asthma, joint problems, fatty liver disease, or heartburn. And lastly, obese children and adolescents have a greater risk of social psychological problems such as discrimination and poor self-esteem, which can continue into adulthood. Child obesity can also lead into later health risks. Most kids who are obese early on in life are more likely to become obese adults. And adult obesity is associated with a number of serious health conditions, including heart disease, diabetes, and even some cancers. Also, obesity in adulthood is likely to be more severe than that of when they are a child, simply because they have had it for a longer period of time. So today we have gone over the main contributors of childhood obesity and the harmful effects of obesity has on children. We have looked at the environmental, genetic, and behavioral factors that influence a child into becoming obese and the different kinds of health issues that come from childhood obesity. What I want you to take away from this speech today is right to know that childhood obesity is becoming an epidemic, and I shared with you my knowledge of childhood obesity so that one day the future for our youth will look brighter.